These are the 10 best and worst states for working from home according to Wallet Hub. Although funny enough, this is an article on CNBC Make It. So even as more companies return to the office, working from home remains a popular choice among employees. Recent research from Microsoft, which surveyed 31,102 workers around the world between January and February, found that 52% of people are thinking of switching to a full-time remote or hybrid job this year. Some places, however, are more suitable for remote flexible work than others, at least according to a new report from Wallet Hub, which identifies the best and worst states for working from home. To determine the list, the personal finance website compared 50 states and the District of Columbia across two key dimensions: work environment and living environment. So the 12 metrics were used, including internet costs, cybersecurity, average home square footage, and share of detached housing units, and metrics were weighted differently. And to calculate the overall score, each state's weighted average across all metrics was used. So here are the 10 best states for working from home according to Wallet Hub's report. Number 1, New Jersey. The total score 66.75. Work environment ranking 5. Living environment ranking 11. Number 2, District of Columbia 64.29. Work environment ranking 1. Living environment ranking 50. 3, Delaware. Total score 64.03. Work environment ranking 2. Living environment ranking 38. Number 4, Connecticut. The total score 62.18 and work environment ranking 12. Living environment ranking 24. Number 5, Massachusetts. Total score 61.87. Work environment ranking 3. Living environment ranking 44. Number 6, Utah. Total score 61.87. Work environment ranking 6. Living environment ranking 27. Texas, number 7. Total score 61.59. Work environment ranking 15. And living environment ranking 1. Number 8, Washington. Total score 61.57. Work environment ranking 11. Living environment ranking 19. Number 9, Maryland. Total score 61.48. Work environment ranking 4. Living environment ranking 41. And number 10, New York. Total score 61.11. Work environment ranking 22. And living environment ranking 5. And Wallet Hub also identified the 10 worst states for working from home in its report. Alaska, Mississippi, Montana, North Dakota, and Arkansas topped the list, followed by Oklahoma, Wyoming, Hawaii, New Mexico, and West Virginia. And states in the Northeast ranked higher on the list as these places tend to offer more remote jobs, have stronger internet access, and cybersecurity to better support telecommuters. Joe Gonzalez, a communications director at Wallet Hub, tells CNBC Make It. New Jersey claimed the number 1 spot for its close proximity to New York City, which offers ample remote and hybrid job opportunities along with its high volume of detached housing units. There's less people living on top of each other in small apartments with thin walls like in some states with bigger cities, Gonzalez says. Having a bigger home and more outdoor space makes a huge difference in well-being and just making work from home a little more pleasant. So I thought this was a pretty interesting list. Feel free to give your thoughts, but the interesting thing about, like, if you were to want to work from home, right, you gotta factor in not just like the living experience, but you gotta think about the cost of living in that area. And not to mention, there's 2 key factors for working from home: an extremely good internet connection and to pay very little amount of money in taxes. And the reason why you want to do that is because a lot of work from home jobs don't necessarily make a crazy amount of money. There are some that make six figures. I mean, there's some people who are writing articles on these news sites making six figures a year, which is kind of funny when you think about it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that is the right route to go for, right? For you specifically. And then you also got to factor in this too, right? What about your friends? What about your family? Are you going to be alone in this one state, completely alone with no one to talk to at all, right? Now you might have like some sort of like online friends or something, but wouldn't you want to have someone to hang out with? So that's something to keep in mind as well. I mean, you could be like a loner. You could be someone who's like very isolated and you prefer that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just got to keep in mind that there's always a cost that you may not necessarily see when it comes to something like this. But I mean, there's a lot of people that make a good amount of money working from home. There's a lot of people that would prefer to stay at home, work from home, and never leave their house. There are people out there like that. But you gotta like really ask yourself, like look at yourself in the mirror and basically ask yourself, okay, can I work from home? Does that make sense for me? Is it worth it to me? Will I be able to hit all the things that I want to do, that I enjoy while working from home? And that's something that you gotta ask yourself. Now here's the thing. Some people might just prefer to work from home simply because they don't like the commute, which is perfectly understandable. But if you don't like your commute, you could also just move closer to your actual job. That is also an option. Now there's a lot of restrictions to that. You might have a mortgage that you're paying. You might be in like a contract for like a lease. So there's always restrictions. But it's just something to really think about. Like there's different ways to get what you want without making necessarily a dramatic change to working from home. Now, if you're already working from home, meaning that you're already in the ability to basically work wherever you want, my suggestion is find a place that has a low cost of living with a lot of options available to you. So what I mean by this is like, this could be maybe like Austin, Texas. This could be someplace close to Miami. Not necessarily in Miami, but close to Miami. Just because you'd get the tax benefits of the states, but you would also have the benefits of living close to a city in terms of like internet connection. Now, the thing that's also interesting too is that if Starlink ends up spreading its wings all across the world, working from home would be way more viable in the future. So you could technically be on the top of a mountain, and if Starlink is working really good, you have some really good internet and you're going to be able to work on the top of a mountain or in the middle of the ocean. So it'd be pretty cool to see what ends up happening in the future, but you also just got to pay attention to, there's always going to be a cost. It's just, can you handle that cost of moving to some of these states? If you want to learn how to get out of debt, go to 4damnbucks.com.